Obviously, schematically, it's a little bit different. But you look at the players, and they're still big, they're still long, they can still fly around the field. They've got two big, long corners that can run on the outside. Obviously, with Chazon and Allen on the edge, they still have perimeter players that can rush the passer. Miles Jack's still in the middle, running around, running and hitting, doing what he does best. So while the scheme's different, it's still a lot of similarities in terms of the types of players that they have out there on the field.
You guys took a definite egg for this game. I mean, what are your plans on the interior depth with a guy like Howard off the outside?
Yeah, I think we've got a bunch of vets that are there that can go out and play well on Sunday, whether it's Marcus or G or Titus or any of those guys, any combination of those guys that can go out there and put us in a spot to go out there and win the game.
What have you thought of Marcus since he's kind of gotten to start practicing?
Yeah, he's done a really good job. Obviously for having a little bit of rust on him, he came out and he's knocking some of that off, but he's doing really well. Still working on the conditioning and as far as the schematics and everything along those lines, he did a great job staying involved and staying locked in when he wasn't out there on the grass. So there hasn't been much of an issue with that, and looking forward to see him on Sunday go out there and play well.
As a coach with a guy as experienced as he is, does it require less time in terms of practice time for you to kind of trust him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously probably more so than someone who hasn't played as much as he has. He's played in a lot of big games. He's seen every look that you can possibly see. So he's played a lot of football. So having that kind of experience definitely alleviates some of those issues. Yeah, Anthony's out there. He's running fast. He looks good in terms of his movement, and he's doing a good job picking up the offense again. With his limited exposure to it because he did get hurt that first preseason week. He missed a couple of weeks there, but he looked good yesterday, coming out there and running around catching the football. And then Danny's obviously got some experience in the system. Looking for a guy who can kind of come in and be reliable and make plays for us in the passing game. Yeah, I think that obviously has a lot to do with it, John. Who's like you said, who's got the hot hand, matchup wise, protection wise. Who do we feel is going to be able to exploit different matchups on the perimeter, whatever it may be. I think there's a lot that goes into the game planning portion of it, and then once we get into the game on Sunday, whoever's rolling is rolling, and let's go. Obviously, we're going to have a plan for how we want to use those guys, but you and I both know that as soon as you get into the game, like a lot of that can change based upon what's happening and how they're feeling and how they're running. But luckily for us, we've got a variety of guys with different skill sets that have, again, proven it at this level that they can go out there and be productive. So, looking forward to working through that on Sunday.
So with Laramie, and now that he's activated from the COVID list, are you starting to see more energy from him as he's had some more weeks of conditioning?
Yeah, that's never been an issue with Laramie.
With such a veteran team and also the addition of an extra regular season game, do you have to worry more as a coach about kind of managing guys' loads and stuff, especially at running back?
I guess, right now I would say no. I mean, right now our focus is going through and figuring out ways to go out and beat Jacksonville. So, if you ask us that question 14 weeks from now, I'm sure you'd get a different answer. But, for right now, we're focused on doing everything we can to be 1-0.
Is Tyrod where you want him to be?
Tyrod's right where we want him to be. So, again, similar to some of these other guys that we talked about, I'm excited for him to be able to get out there and play on Sunday and let it rip.
Obviously, Danny just showed up this week. I mean, how game ready is he at this point?
Yeah, he's working himself back into shape. So we'll see where he's at the end of the week, and then we'll go from there.
Morning. Joey coming from Carolina, a couple years in the league, a lot of good experience. So at this point, consider him a veteran, and happy that when he gets here under the circumstance, just gets to a new team, a new city, and he gets a chance to prove himself as he works through, with a new snapper and a new holder. But strong leg, and excited to work with Joey. He's been great as far as his professionalism and trying to get up to speed as quickly as possible.
You mentioned his leg strength. He had 71 touchbacks that mean? And how is he when he's trying to put it, say, get some direction and some hang time inside the five?
Sure, he's obviously when you see him in person for the first time, the guy's 220 pounds. He's built like a linebacker. He was a linebacker growing up. And when you look at the Carolina last few years, they were banging touchbacks, and he has the ability to do that. So, we'll definitely use that to his strength, depending on the situation in the game.
What happened with Kanye?
Yeah, just a pregame warm-up injury, as Coach Cully said. Unfortunate. Definitely doesn't, always not expecting that to happen, rather, at any point for a kicker. But just an unfortunate deal for Kaimi. But he's going to recover. He's going to be all right, and he's working his way back. Yeah, there's always a chance. That was a dream come true for him, but prove that at some point everybody on this team is a football player, not just a position player, not just a specialist, and that was fun to see and opened up some eyes for sure.
How much work do you guys give an emergency kicker kind of in practices just so you have some level?
Sure. Yeah, everybody works every week. Those little details matter, and when they come up, if you're unprepared, you're leaving yourself susceptible. So we work that in all phases.
Are there things bringing a guy in like Slide that quickly that you have to marry up before he's game ready?
Yeah, I mean, any time you add a new player to the roster, you got to get him up to game speed as quickly as possible. But this is the NFL. It's the professionalism on each player on a position-by-position basis will rise to the top. So, getting him up to speed has been not necessarily just a challenge, but has been an enjoyable process because, they're hungry. They want to prove themselves every time they get out there and make a kick, every time they get out there for an opportunity to score points. So I think, whether it's easy or hard is not really the question. It's just, take it one step at a time, and whatever's in front of us, we're going to work for. So.
Frank, you had Andre Roberts back, but your return game was great preseason. Do you use him on both, or do you keep Desmond as a punt return?
Sure. I think even with the addition of Danny Amendola, I think we have probably a more experienced return group in our room, and, we're going to use everybody that's available to us on a week-by-week basis. Sure, the return game in the preseason was, a good starting point, but as we move forward, it's, the returner is not doing it himself. There's, 10 other guys in the field that are trying to get their mission accomplished, their one-on-one matchup won. So, whoever's back there for us, we're definitely going to play to their strengths.
Frank, what are some of your impressions of the Jaguars special teams when you watch them on tape?
Yeah, they have a very experienced coordinator, and it's going to show up on their tape, So I was in college in Cleveland in 2008 watching Nick Sorensen run down and cover kicks for the Cleveland Browns. So it's showing in their tape. Coming over from the Seattle, you see a lot of his things that, they're preaching fundamentals and technique and playing with, they're playing with some fire. So definitely going to have to be ready for anything that they throw at us, as well as any week one opponent. New coaching staff, a lot of new players on that team, et cetera. So we have to be ready for anything and everything.
Well, coming from the college game, I feel like I know a little bit about him. I know he's been a good quarterback. Matter of fact, I even remember going to his high school way back in the day, watching him work out, an off-season workout early in the morning. Pretty impressive. But, everything that should have been said about him has been said. He's got all the physical ability in the world. He's been a good quarterback for a long period of time. Make all the throws. Didn't know much about losing a game. And for us, though, it doesn't matter whether it's really Trevor Lawrence or whoever the quarterback might be. It's always about what we do. And there's a way that we like to play defense. And part of being able to play good defense is to be able to control the quarterback as much as possible. In order for you to be a good quarterback, though, you have to have good skill around you. He has excellent wide receivers around him with size, speed, good running backs. We understand, an offensive line has played a lot of football. Any offensive line coached by George Warhop is going to be pretty good. So big challenge for us. I mean, we're just excited about, getting the season started.
Well, I know that the trade may still be pending, but how do you approach the long-term options at corners and look at the defense?
Well, this is I think this is how you have to approach. First off, long term. You don't think long term. I mean, Bradley was a good football player for us. He wasn't playing this week, so our preparation has been without him. So how we're going to approach it is that we have 2 starting corners, and Terrence Mitchell and Vernon Hargraves that are going to tee it up, and we'll go from there.
Were you trying to recruit Trevor Lawrence to Illinois when you saw it?
No, we didn't have much of a chance to get him. I saw him work out is what I saw him. You recruit a lot of schools, and you're looking at a lot of players. Their high school had a lot of players. We're looking at the time another player at that high school. But everybody, of course, starts talking about him right away.
Lovey, with Vernon and Terrence, individually, what do you see for each of those guys, for their skill sets, what they want to continue to bring?
Both, first off, have played a lot of ball, familiar with both of them. And we've had them, from my time here, through training camp, gotten a chance to work on the football field with them. We played 3 games together. Both guys, if we have a starting corner, he's got to want to tackle. Both guys want to tackle, and they have a skill set that's kept them in the league for a long period of time. I know they're anxious to. They came here for a reason. It seemed like most of the guys on our defense, most of us have something to prove. So just excited about getting it started.
Jaguars have offensive coordinators obviously do have quite a bit of NFL history, but when you're trying to get a sense of this offense, given you've only kind of seen it in the preseason, do you look at all of what Urban did in college, or you focus more on kind of what the offensive coordinators have done in the NFL?
First off, you mentioned offensive coordinators. Brian Scheinheimer. I mean, he's been, good football coach, OC, good football coach for a long period of time. Of course, Darrell Bevel, the same. We've competed against those guys in the past. A lot of experience. I mentioned George Warhol, also NFL coaches. But when we looked at all of that video, but you have to also look. I mean, it starts with the head football coach, and he's an offensive guy. Have a little bit of history, of course, with him, but we have to look at everything that they've done, and that's what we've tried to do. The first game of the season, though, with 2 new staffs, you never know. So you cover the waterfront, and as much as anything, you go back to what we do. We have rules that you go with. It is that way for most first games of the season, and that's definitely the case this week. A lot of video, a lot of different ways they can go, but eventually they're going to run the ball in some form. They're going to pass the ball in some form, and hopefully we'll be ready.
Having a team made up of veterans help you do that, kind of cover more as opposed to having a lot of young guys?
It's a good point. Yes, I think it helps a lot. And, you look at our defensive roster, the guys have been a lot of different places, so they're used to that change and, dealing with the unexpected a little bit, not knowing. But when you are a veteran, you know that you have to be ready for just about everything, and there's a reason why the guys we have on our team have played as long as they have in the league. And watching them come together has been pretty neat. They bought into what we would like to be, who we would like to be defensively. And we see them doing it in practice. And to an extent in games, the preseason games, can't wait to see it in the regular season.
Hey, can you talk about what you saw from, can you talk about what you learned about your defense through the preseason and training camp and what you expect?
Well, they're coachable and coming in new, coming in at the same time. I know as a coaching staff, we knew who the names were, but we were going to evaluate everything on the football field. Guys understood that and start showing us who they were. And as I said, after the training camp, preseason games, we have an idea, and we're excited. The way we play football, it always starts with stopping the run, and you have to be disciplined. We play a gap-controlled defense like most people do, and we feel like we have enough talent to be successful.
You added Jimmy Moreland off waivers, and then you said throughout the long to your practice scope. What do you see from both of those guys individually?
As we talk just DB, corn in general, there's a skill set that we're looking for. Yeah, you want the guys to be able to run and change, transition and, change directions. And, I mentioned about, wanting to tackle as a corner. We have a profile that Nick and the rest of our personnel department has done a good job of getting the type of players that we want. These are two more that you mentioned. We haven't worked with them a lot yet, but we feel like they can eventually find a role with us.
A couple more.
Lovey, are you happy with where the run defense is considering how bad it was last season?
John, right now, yes, for what we've seen. And we spend a lot of time, like most teams, you know, we spend a lot of time. It always starts with that. And it's just about being disciplined, you know, trusting your teammate, being in your gap. We like the way, there's been a couple breakouts that we need to take care of, but yeah, we like the way we played the run so far. And it's just not the preseason games we're talking about. You know, we're excited about playing the new offense, but, you know, our offense does a great job. You know, Tim and the offensive crew does a great job of putting us in a lot of different situations that we've seen, and feel like we've held up fairly well versus run, and it'll have to be the case, of course, this weekend.
Last one.
Lovey, when did you meet David Culley for the first time?
That's a pretty personal question there, isn't it? I'm kind of telling my age. Is that what you're asking me? No, I'm just joking. I mean, I really can't remember. It seemed like David and I have both been coaching forever. I know David came into the league a little bit before. I didn't really get to know him until we both came into the league. So I came in the league in 1996, I guess, and he came in a little bit before that. And, I knew who he was before I really got a chance to know exactly who, you know, what type of guy he was. But reputation preceded him a little bit. And through the years, you keep track of the guys that do a good job at their position. And, you know, David's worked on a lot of good staffs. And that's why it was pretty easy when I had an opportunity to come down here. Something that really, you know, just jumped at the opportunity. You want to always help the good guys, the good coaches that deserve an opportunity to lead their program. And he's done a super job with the football team daily. They believe in him and want to win for him, and that's pretty important.
When you saw him, or when you had heard of him around the league before you really got to know him, what did you hear about him, and kind of how has that perspective maybe changed or not changed since you've gotten to spend more time with him?
I think what you want people to say about you first is, are you a good, you know, when you come in, we're both position coaches. And I've always believed that if you do a good job as a position coach, you're going to move up and keep moving up. And in order, when I say do a good job, I mean David's always been known as a good detail football guy. That's more than just, it is more than just about football with him. And I think that's what he's portraying to the football team. You know, character, what you do and what you say is pretty important, and doing things a certain way. That's what I saw from him back then, and that's what I'm seeing from him. That's what I knew and that's who I knew he would be as a head football coach.